Howdy friends, and welcome to Electron Rider. Today I am showing you the Ultralight from Iconic Ebikes. Now I've got both variants of it here. I've got a white step through and then the black high step. But other than that, these two bikes are identical. All the components are the same. They have some different color options on their website as well, but these two are, kind of the classic colors. And classic is really what they're going for here. This is a vintage style bike that really looks just sort of like a vintage city cruiser. It's stealthy and it's class 1, and as the name suggests, ultralight, these are very lightweight, 45 pounds, actually less, like 43, 44 pounds is amazing for an electric bike. And I mean, this is a bike that you can carry up the stairs easily. If you live in a walk-up, you can put it onto a normal bike rack behind your car instead of having to get a more expensive one that's rated for heavy e-bikes. Like, having the lightweight, obviously has a lot of convenience factors. And like I said, it's stealthy and it's a class 1. So if you're not familiar with those terms, stealthy means that the electronics are very stealthily integrated. The battery is in the down tube here. The cabling is run internally. Although you can see the motor back here, it's painted silver, so it looks just like kind of a bigger hub. If you didn't know what you're looking for, you would probably not realize that these are electric bikes, without inspecting them closely. Now, there's the whole sleek, appearance benefit of that, but this is actually very nice for preventing theft as well. E-bikes tend to be targeted more for theft because they're higher value. They're worth quite a bit more money. And so bike thieves will, if they see an electric bike just as they're going past, they will stop to try to steal that bike more frequently than they do just like kind of a, standard cruiser looking city bike, which is what these two look like. Now, while overall I'm a huge fan of having these, cleanly integrated stealthy electronics, they do come with some downsides to it. So I just want to point that out for you guys. The biggest one is that you can't remove the battery, right? It's in the down tube. It looks awesome, very sleek, but there's not any easy way to remove it. You can remove it, but it's a kind of a lengthy disassembly process to get it out with removing the head tube and all this stuff. So it's something that a shop could do, especially if you need to replace your battery down the road or if they're working on it, but it's not something you can easily do. And so if you need to charge the battery, you have to bring the bike in the garage or in the house, wherever your outlet is, so that you can plug it in. The other downside, of course, is that your battery is going to always be in the bike. If you have to leave it outside in hot or cold weather, that can be a little bit rough on the battery cells and hurt their longevity. So storing it inside is definitely better. Try to avoid leaving it outside, overnight or for days on end if you live in really hot climates. But other than that, though, it's you're still going to function just like a normal electric bike, and looks much better while doing it. I love the appearance here. They do look very very sleek and well done. All of the color match components are really nice. The leather grips, stitched leather grips, which feel great. Nice wide comfort saddles, and the fenders, rack, everything. It's a very well dialed in appearance. These are meant to look and ride like bicycles. They're really intended for people who are already cyclists. They already like to ride a bike, and maybe they just want to go a little bit faster, go a little bit farther, do some longer rides. Maybe you're getting older and you want to be able to keep up with your kids on their regular bikes or whatever they might be riding. They have a wide range of fits for people who are at the core looking for a good bicycle. Now, if you're familiar with the electric bike industry, a lot of manufacturers are going bigger, faster, stronger, bigger batteries, crazy powerful motors, bikes that can go over 30 miles per hour, but those aren't really bicycles. They aren't really for people who want to ride something like a bicycle. So that is where this ultralight is coming in, is for people that want that cycling experience. Now, if you are not familiar with Iconic e-bikes yet as a bike manufacturer, they're pretty new on the scene, getting started this year. I reviewed their first product, the Cruiser, for a different channel. Really loved the bike. Like, it was honestly was one of my favorites of the year. Their design team is just absolutely crushing it. You can tell that they are cyclists who really understand the products that they're trying to build and the people that they're trying to sell to, with really good component choices. The design is really well done. Everything just looks amazing. They're definitely living up to the Iconic name, and they do have dealers as well as selling online, but it's mostly online so far. Unless you live in the California area, then you might be able to get into a dealer and test ride one before purchasing. Otherwise, online is going to be your best bet. Now let's talk a little bit more about the electronics on here. Now, as I mentioned, these are class 1s, no throttle. That means pedal assist only. So if you want to take advantage of of the electrical system, you do have to be pedaling. You've got to be putting in some work for these. And so that gives them a surprising amount of range, even though it's a pretty small capacity battery. Now it's, as I said, it's right here in the down tube here, very cleanly integrated. There's the charge port right here. So it's not very high capacity, 252 watt hours, which may sound pretty small by modern standards, but when you factor in that is a class 1, no throttle, and is a torque sensing pedal assist sensor down here, you can get a surprising amount of range out of this battery. In our first test ride, we rode it for 15 miles and still had 75% battery capacity remaining, and using pretty high levels of pedal assist too. So, you know, even if you're pushing it all the way up in level 5, which is the highest level, you can still get at least 30 miles of effective riding range out of the battery, and more if you're using lower levels of assist. So you can really go a long range on this thing. Now, if you've never ridden on a torque sensor before, they are so much more fun to ride on than a cadence-based sensor. A torque sensor actually responds to how much pressure you're putting on the pedals. So if you're pedaling lightly, you just get a little bit of assistance. But if you are really pushing hard, you know, trying to go faster, then the electric assist is going to instantly kick up and match you, so you'll get a lot more power out of it. So you put in a lot of work, you get a lot of boost, and then you can really fly on this thing. Getting up to that top speed of 20 miles per hour is surprisingly easy, and the sensor just, it feels so good. It's such a responsive sensor. Now the electronics are controlled from the display pad, which I have mounted over here on the left grip, but you know, you can kind of put it wherever you'd like to. Now to fire it up here, you just hold down the power button in the center, and these are solid displays. Like they're the backlit grayscale LCDs. You can hold down the power button, or the plus button, excuse me, up here to turn on the lights for the bike, which will then turn on the backlight in the display, and your integrated headlight up there, which has these side cutouts, gives you really good side visibility, and they're pretty bright lights too. They did a good job with those. Now, this is a very simple display system here. It starts out in level 1 pedal assist. You can go down to 0 if you want to ride it completely unassisted, or go up as high as level 5, and that's, you know, kind of your maximum pedal assist setting there. The motor back here is a 350 watt rear hub motor, can peak up at around, you know, 450 watts. So it actually does provide a decent amount of power if you need that for, you know, climbing up a hill or something when you're up there in level 5. Now the way the pedal assist levels work is all of them will assist you all the way up to the max speed of 20 miles per hour, which really is the best configuration. There's some e-bikes out there where if you're in level 1, the pedal assist will only help you up to like 10 miles an hour, which just doesn't really work well. You have to constantly be fiddling with the assist levels if you want to go faster or slower. On here, level 1 just gives you a little bit of assistance, but all the way up to that 20 mile per hour speed. And then if you're up in level 5, that's the max level assist. And really is a noticeable amount of juice, although it is surprisingly quiet. Like, that's one thing that I honestly love about this bike, is that the motor is quiet and the rest of the bicycle components are just very quiet as well. Now some of that is, you know, since when I set this up, I tuned the derailleur so everything's lined up and riding smoothly here. But they've got a great setup here with steel fenders on the front and in the rear. So steel fenders are very quiet. Steel's naturally vibration damping. You've also got a steel fork up here as well. So when you're riding, you don't hear any, like, you know, creaks, vibrations, rattling that you might get from having like aluminum or alloy hardware on there. Now maybe the only downside for the electronics system here is that although you do get a tail light, it's not integrated. You can see it on the back of the high step model here. I've got mine mounted right under the seat. Now these are pretty awesome tail lights, honestly. They have several different flashing modes. They're fairly bright. They're automatic sensing as well, so they can actually, you know, detect when you're stopping or slowing down suddenly, and will flash more brightly to alert people behind you, which is awesome. For an independent taillight, this is about as good as it gets. And as a bonus, you can unscrew it. Just have to turn it about 180 degrees, it will pop off, and it's actually a USB rechargeable here too. So you don't have to worry about swapping out batteries, which honestly is my biggest gripe with independent taillights like this. You forget, you leave it on, the batteries are dead, you have to swap it out, it's a whole thing. So having it rechargeable like this and easy to just unscrew and take inside with you, like, that's definitely a plus. You don't have to leave it on there and worry that it's going to get stolen. I do have to mention though that having it mounted under the seat right here isn't the best for visibility. You know, if I step back here and kind of at an upper angle, it's hard to see, and then on the step through here, we've got the seat down pretty low, and so it's hard to see unless you're down kind of at cyclist level, pedestrian level, which really just means that it's a little bit harder for cars to see it if you've got the seat down low. Now there are nice big reflectors on here. You've got a huge rear reflector on the back, there's side reflectors on the spokes, reflective sidewall striping on the tires as well, and the white frame really stands out. So visibility while you're riding is important to you. You know, maybe you live in a busy city, definitely go for the white model, as that is really going to stand out anytime, day or night. Let's run through the rest of the bicycle components on here. Now, the drivetrain for pedaling is a pretty basic setup here. Shimano tourney, which, you know, if you've watched my other videos, this is the entry level from Shimano, but you know, it's a Shimano. Shimano makes really great components, and if you set this up properly and tune it well, then they shift very cleanly. They're very quiet. They really do a good job. You've got a 7-speed here, so this is, you know, 14 to 28 teeth in the back, and a decent sized chainring up here on the front. So you can do pretty well riding up hills. If you shift that all the way down into your low gear, then you can do some pretty good hill climbing even without the electric assist. And then, you know, bump that up to level 5 and you can climb up just about anything. Now, you shift gears with a thumb shifter up here, and they got the black one, which just really matches with the rest of the bike, especially on the black high step over here. I mean, all of the components, this is such good color matching. But anyways, I'm getting distracted here talking about the thumb shifter. So these are, you know, good entry level shifters. They get the job done. I don't like them as much as trigger shifters. Most people don't, but these actually have a pretty nice benefit. They're very easy to operate if you're wearing gloves, even really big, thick winter gloves. So if you do a lot of riding in the winter, which, you know, people who cycle regularly and commute and stuff like that on their regular bicycle, they probably do ride a lot in the winter, have some thick bike gloves, you can ship these, no problem. We are working with mechanical disc brakes on the front and in the rear, 160 millimeter rotors. So these provide plenty of stopping power for these bikes, especially when you factor in just how lightweight they are. You know, weighing it at only about 45 pounds, it's not a whole lot of weight to bring to a stop, especially since they're class 1, top speed of 20 miles per hour. So, you know, these aren't downhill speed demons. Now, hydraulic brakes do provide better stopping power, but, you know, that also does kind of increase the price and complexity of everything. So mechanical is a good fit on these bikes. Now, if you know your electric bike brakes, you might be looking at these and saying, like, wait a sec, there's only one cable here. That means that there's no motor inhibitors. Motor inhibitors are a feature on a lot of bikes because they cut power to the motor immediately when you squeeze on that brake lever. That way you're not accidentally fighting the motor. But you don't really need them if you have a good torque sensor like these bikes have, because as soon as you stop pedaling, that sensor kicks off, the motor stops. So you're not really in a position where you're going to be fighting the motor unless you're still pedaling, which you shouldn't be doing, obviously. And also, you know, you've got a 350 watt motor back there that's not very powerful, so even in that event, it's pretty easy to overpower it. So it does make sense here. It's a good fit, and it helps the bikes to look a little bit more clean, you know. And then just to talk about kind of the general, you know, design, ride comfort, etc. These are very adjustable, approachable bikes. The seat post is pretty long, so you can move that up and down quite a ways. I'm able to get just about full leg extensions on these, and I'm a tall rider at 6'3". That's actually pretty hard for me to do, especially on a one-size-fits-all bike. And then, you know, smaller folks can lower that seat down. And then the real champion for, you know, fitting riders here is this tool-free adjustable stem. So you can just lift this up, and then it's a little bit tricky to do with one hand, but you can adjust your handlebars around, and then you can also swivel the stem itself up and down. Like I said, it's quite difficult to do with just one hand, but, you know, if you wanted to come down forward like this, get a more forward stance, or lift it very high up, get a more upright stance. Either one of those is really easy to do with this stem. So it's nice for, you know, fitting it for yourself if you're the only rider for the bike, but that's also amazing if you share this bike, you know, maybe in your whole family, or just share it with a partner. It's very easy for both of you to just adjust the stem when you're riding it. Feels nice for you, and then your other person who's riding it can do the same thing without having to break out the toolkit and spend a bunch of time making those adjustments. Alrighty, time to do some riding. We're gonna take it out for a spin here. I am on the high step here, and then we've got Michelle here on the step through. So we're gonna, you know, just start out in bike mode here. I've got my display on, but I'm just gonna leave it in 0. Just to see how this feels riding without assist, you know, whether you're just trying to get more exercise or maybe you ran out of battery. So yeah, let's see how we can do. Very easy to pedal starting out. I do have mine all the way down in first gear so I can get a nice brisk pedal cadence. Pretty easy to pedal. I feel like I'd be able to, you know, climb some hills fairly easily even without the electric assist on here. And it's such an upright, like, comfortable seating position. I mean, I have mine adjusted to sit upright. You could go for a more forward stance if you want to, but this really feels like where it's at for it. Michelle's got hers dialed in about the same way as well, a little bit lower seat, but still just like a very, very nice, upright, relaxed. Like, this is an easy bike to cruise around on, even if you're, you know, completely ignoring the motor. And it's a very stable frame too, which I like. If you're, you know, fan of riding around no-handed, this bike can do it. Even at these lower speeds, which can be kind of dicey on some bikes. Now I am on the high step, which has the most stable frame, but the step through is kind of a mixedy. You can see it has the two bottom bars there that just add a bit more strength and stability to the frame. So it still feels rock solid, even when you get up to the higher speeds of around 20 miles per hour. Let's see. Past these people first. So even though riding like a bike is fun and all, the electric assist really is where the fun's at. So let's just kick it up to just like level 1 assist for now. Now level 1 assist is it's very subtle. It's definitely noticeable. It gives you a little bit of juice, especially if you do press hard on the pedals, but it's not a lot. It's just a nice little bit of extra go. Very quiet too. I can't even hear my own motor. I can barely hear Michelle's right back here. So level 1 is also a very good kind of a stealthy riding mode where it's not loud or obnoxious. You don't have crazy speeds. It's not going to be dangerous if you're on a multi-use trail like this where you've got a lot of pedestrians. Okay, we're going to demo the higher levels of pedal assist and also just the responsiveness of the torque sensor. Like that is really what makes riding this bike feel awesome, probably more than any other component. So I'm in assist level 1 right now, and if I bump it up to level 5, at first nothing happens, and that's because I'm still pedaling at the same rate, pedaling with the same pressure onto the cranks, and so it's not activating the motor anymore. In order to do that, I just have to start pedaling harder, and then it really takes off. I mean, we can get up here to 18-20 miles per hour in just a few seconds. And while it is relatively easy compared to a normal bicycle, I am having to put in some work, do some exercise to get to that point. I should probably shift up there so I'm not pedaling quite so fast. And yeah, now it's pretty easy to just cruise and maintain this speed, but still getting some exercise. It's a very good balance, so that if you have to get somewhere in a hurry, but you still want to get a little bit of a workout in the process, perfect. Here's another angle of the same thing. So right now Michelle's just pedaling lightly in level 5 assist, but it's not really activating the motor a lot. And then go ahead and really start to pedal harder, and you can see it just really take off, leaving me in the dust back here, but still just so smooth and so silent. Like you barely hear it at all, even when you're right next to it. So Michelle, you've ridden quite a few e-bikes at this point. So what do you think about this one? How's it compared to other ones you've ridden, and what do you like or dislike about it?
Well, I think this is one of my favorite bikes that I've gotten to ride, because it's really awesome for what it is. I guess I'm used to riding bikes with throttles on it, and I can go really fast and stuff like that. However, I'm not somebody that's always biking for sport. I am more so biking for fun, and so I don't need all of that.
And what about like ride comfort? So I talked a little bit about this before, the seating position and everything, but you may have noticed there's no suspension on these bad boys. So what do you think comfort wise? How's it feel?
Comfort wise, it is very comfortable. I think the seat has a lot to do with that. It's a very comfortable seat, a lot of cushion, really big, and I like that. I think it helps with there not being a suspension. And I don't really notice much. I've ridden bikes without suspensions that really rattle around, and this one's pretty good. This one's really good, actually. I love riding this bike. It's very comfortable.
Yeah, it's impressively smooth, like smooth and quiet, no rattling. Some of that is the steel components. The fenders on here is steel, the front fork is steel. Steel's a naturally vibration damping material, and so it really actually helps out quite a lot, both smoothing out bumps on the road and just keeping the extra mounted components from rattling around. And they're pretty good tires for ride comfort too. These are the 700C by, what is it, like 1.35 or something, I think. And so they've got a lot of vertical depth to them, and so they actually absorb quite a bit despite being very skinny and still very efficient, very smooth rolling. And they're big too. I mean, these are 28-inch diameter tires, which means they have a very low attack angle against bumps. They roll over things very easily, so that helps out as well. And you know, they're just designed for city cruising. This is not something that you're going to be taking off-road on mountain bike trails or something. You're going to be riding it around town, so you don't really need suspension that just adds, you know, more cost and more weight, more complexity.
I really like how you can adjust the handlebars because it makes it really comfortable. I don't know. You can anybody can ride it and change it up to how they want it to feel very easily. Yeah,
like being able to do it without needing tools, you know, just really quick, you know, pop up the lever, snap it around, like it's
yeah. And then I jumped on his bike earlier today and realized I liked the way his handlebars felt, so I changed mine up, and now I like them even better.
The torque sensor really contributes just to kind of the overall smooth ride feeling as well. Now, most electric bikes have a cadence-based pedal sensor, which is just measuring revolutions of the pedals. Typically, there's quite a bit of a delay with those because you have to cycle the pedals around once or twice before it kicks in, and then it's just kind of all or nothing. If you're pedaling, you get just a flat amount of assistance from the motor until a few seconds after you stop. Now, these ones, though, have torque sensors that actually respond to the pressure on it. So, Michelle, I don't know if you've ridden a torque sensor before. This might be the first one.
It is my first one, and I really enjoy it. It's more sensitive to what I want to do in the moment. So if I want to go faster in the moment, I can, and I don't have to touch a button or do anything like that.
Now, one concern that a lot of people have looking at, you know, a bike like this with such a small integrated battery is, you know, the range. Like, how am I going to be able to ride very far on that? Am I going to run out of battery all the time? And the answer is probably not. Since these are class 1, they don't have a throttle. You can't just go zooming around on battery alone. You've got to be pedaling. And since it's a torque sensor, it's only going to be putting out a high volume of power if you are pushing hard, if you're doing a lot of work, which means you can ride a long ways. You know, we did one test ride, I think 15 miles already, and you had 75% battery capacity left.
Yeah.
And we were riding, you know, anywhere from level 3 to level 5, pushing at pretty good speeds. And so even if you're, you know, worst case scenario, riding in level 5, going up and down a lot of hills, you can still expect to get like at least, you know, 25 to 30 miles out of this. And if you're, you know, riding at a lower level of assist on more flat ground, then, you know, 50, 60, 70 miles are totally doable. So don't be off-put by, you know, how small the electrical system is. It's that way by design. This is a bike that's meant to, you know, be ridden and get some exercise while you're doing it. All right, folks, so we're about at the end of the road here for the Iconic Ebikes Ultralight review. As you can probably tell from the rest of this video, I really love this bike. Like, it's very well built, well designed. I like that it's lightweight, that it's stealthy, and most of all that it just is a great, well-built bicycle. And even though I review electric bikes for a living, I actually prefer riding my just normal non-electric road bike most of the time when I am going out for a ride. And so this is actually a, you know, a contender that I would like actually ride around for fun on a personal basis. So, you know, definitely recommend it. It's a great fit for people who you know, maybe want to put it behind their RV, because you can just put it on a normal bike rack. You don't need any expensive, you know, heavyweight e-bike hardware. Michelle, any closing remarks you'd like to make about these bikes?
I just think this is like one of the best made bikes I've gotten to ride. I thoroughly enjoy riding it. I like that I can still get exercise riding it, and I like that I can carry it up to our 3rd-story apartment by myself, even though I didn't do that today.
That's always a win for us. If you live in a walk-up, then those heavy bikes are a no-no. All right, folks, if you've got questions or comments, chime in down in the comments section. And you can also like and subscribe to catch future updates. We'll be doing some more stuff with these bikes in the future. And you can also check the description for a link to the full written review. We've got all the specs, we've got photos, we've got compare tools so that you can, you know, shop around and check out other stuff. All right, guys, as always, thanks for coming along. Ride safe out there. We'll catch you in the next video.